Now I want to take a moment to kind of slow down here for a second and really emphasize the importance on the lesson that you're about to watch. This is one you'll want to watch multiple times. This is one that's potentially worth 10 times the value of what you invested to go through this class. This is critical if you want to be successful online course publishing. This is going to contain a lot of things that most people have no clue about. These are things that I've put together from all my experiences and from creating and selling millions of dollars of my own courses, over $10 million worth and counting, as well as all the money I've made and all the consulting I've done with other online course publishers, some that have made huge 8-figure-a-year businesses selling online courses in certain markets and industries. So you'll want to pay close attention to this. When you create curriculum for any online course, I believe there are 12 critical elements that you absolutely need to include in the curriculum. Now, when you create that curriculum, that outline of what you're going to cover in the course, or of course what talent is going to cover, what the course is made up of, it's pretty simple, right? The curriculum itself is self-explanatory. It's essentially A to Z. Here's where you start, and then here's where you end to learn X subject matter. So teaching anything, it has to start with beginning stuff, and it ends with the final stuff. If it's how to cook a casserole, here's the ingredients you're going to need. Here's how to preheat the oven. Here's what the first thing you do is you mix this in a bowl. Here's the next thing you do, the next thing you do. So all teaching is linear. In other words, it's an order. Starts at beginning and ends at the end. So that goes without saying that a course, any course that you create and sell, is going to go in an order. It's going to have a flow to it. But there are some critical elements that the curriculum itself needs to contain, and that's what we're going to go over in this lesson. So element number one is you need to have an introduction. And when you list your curriculum in your marketing, which we're going to go over starting next week, and you're going to list what all is in the outline, you're going to talk about how you have an introduction. You're going to give an introduction to the course, where you're going to give basically maybe some bio on the instructor, talk a little bit about the subject matter, but essentially you're going to have an introduction. The next thing you're going to have, which is very important, and by the way, these elements are not necessarily in the order in which they will appear in the curriculum. They just need to all be in the curriculum. But early on, one of the next things you'll have after an introduction is what I call a purpose statement or the big promise. So you'll have a lesson that talks about essentially how their life could be changed or made better by learning what they're going to learn in the online course. In this class, that was in the lesson called How Big Is This Opportunity? It talks really about what's at stake here, how your life can change if you take advantage of this opportunity, and what the future looks like. So you're basically reinforcing the promise or the value of why someone is going through the teaching in the first place. And you want to have that very upfront in your curriculum and clearly stated in your curriculum. The next thing you'll want to have is an overview of your methodology, essentially what's going to be taught in the course and how it's going to be laid out. The next thing, and these can be in order early on, then you'll start with a foundation or the basics. You want everyone to know that when they sign up for your course and they're going to take a course, that there's a foundation that they're going to learn for that subject matter. There are some basics, the 101, that they're going to learn. It goes without saying that this is going to be taught, and almost if anyone's worth their salt as a teacher, but it needs to be listed in your curriculum and in your marketing that you will cover a foundation. You cannot assume, even if it's an advanced course, you're still going to have to go over the foundation elements of advanced techniques, where you'll lay out a framework or something in the beginning that sets the tone for the rest of the training. So you need to state this in your curriculum, that it's appealing to people that may not know all of the subject matter or are well versed at all. So it's important to have that listed in a curriculum or outline. Now we get into things that, of course, are going to be throughout the course curriculum, but need to be expressed and, of course, need to be taught. This is the how-to and the when-to. It's obvious that any online course has to contain the how-to because that's what the online course is. You're teaching them how to do something. But you need to teach them how to do something. Here are the steps you need to take. You can't just teach theory or a general overview about a subject matter. You got to teach them how to do it. And that's what an online course is anyways. So you'll obviously want to convey the how-to throughout the curriculum. Here's how to do this. Here's how to do this. Here's how to do this. So it's not just about 3 different serve types. It needs to be like you may have a lesson called 3 different serve types or your 3 different options for serving, but you're going to have lessons that say how to hit an alpha A serve or what. I'm just making these up, but how to use this serve, how to do this. But you also need to include throughout the curriculum when to. It's not enough to teach people how to do something. They need to know the timing of it, when to do it. So make sure you include in reference to timing, when to do this, when to do that, when not to do that. You also want to have do's and don'ts. I don't list that here, but that goes with the positive and negatives of how to and when to. You'll want to cover, and if you can put those in your curriculum, about how to do this, but you'll also want to make reference to, by the way, you don't want to do this, and you'll learn this in the lesson, why not. You'll want to include, I already just referenced this in the previous lesson, the 10 most common questions. You can learn this from keyword research. You can learn this and figure it out from looking at competitor curriculum, but you can certainly learn it from those discussion forums and ranking those threads by views. The 10 most common questions or 10 most common sub-areas or subtopics of a main subject matter that the online course is about for whatever it is that you're going to teach. Now, if you have subject matter that's broken up into a basic course, an intermediate course, an advanced course, then it's going to be the 10 most common things for intermediate users, or the 10 most common questions or topics for advanced users. But you're still going to have 10 core things that people want to learn about that subject matter. Now, you can certainly go beyond 10 things, but you have to, as a minimum, cover 10 things. You have to include what I call big secret number 1, big secret number 2, and big secret number 3. You want to at least have 3 secrets in your curriculum for every online course that you teach. Now, what's being taught may not be a giant secret to some or may be taught in other courses, but you at least want to position 3 things in your curriculum, in your outline, that seem to have some kind of mystery to them or intrigue. So you talk about, maybe you add a label to a certain type of serve, or you're going to call it the R5 aggressive serve. And you can say this is something that a lot of pros are now using, at least on their first serve. And this is a big key to winning a lot of points, so on and so forth. And then maybe you're going to cover the double index finger on the racket serve, and maybe that's something common to other things where people know, but you're going to give it a different label. You're going to give it a different spin. You're going to talk a little bit different about it, but it's being positioned as a secret. People want to know secrets. They want to know what they can't just find in those YouTube videos. They want to know what isn't found everywhere else. And oh, by the way, just as a bonus, aside from looking at competitors' curriculums of other online courses, I meant to mention earlier, you can look at the outlines and glossaries and chapter layouts of books. So go to Amazon, search for a How to Play Tennis book, and look at that outline in the book to give you a head start on kind of the things that you should probably include in yours for your online course, but coming from a nonfiction book. So you can do that as well. You can go to Amazon and look at the outlines of books. But you want to have 3 big secrets in your curriculum where you have some kind of vagueness or intrigue about certain topics or subtopics throughout the curriculum. So at least have 3 things that seem to have some intrigue. You'll, of course, want to mention in your curriculum somewhere, somehow, that you're going to be talking about other resources for them to use or other tools for them to use to get the job done. You know, if it's tennis, maybe you're going to make reference to how to use certain types of tape to tape up your grip, or how to use certain things to maintain the string tension in the racket. I'm not a tennis expert. I'm just kind of pulling this out of thin air, but allude to how you're teaching them how to use different tools and resources that are available in that market for getting better at the subject matter that you're teaching. They want to know about other tools. They want to know about other resources. They want to know where to shop. They want to know where to buy gear. They want you to give them some heads up on equipment to buy. But include that in the curriculum. We're going to talk about those things. So it's very important to do that. It's not just about techniques. It's not just about how to, when to. They want to know about these other products to buy, other things to buy. It's like me recommending here's what microphone to use, here's what software to use. Even though I'm teaching the techniques of what to include in a course and how to sell it, I'm teaching other things that deal with that. Like, here are things for making the course. Here are things for marketing the course. Here are things to doing competitive research as part of the marketing process, tools you should use, so on and so forth. So always include in your curriculum and talk about it in your curriculum and outline. Here's how we're going to go over the equipment I recommend. Here's how to go over what tools or resources you can use. Number 11, very, very important. I mentioned this with handouts. You want to have interaction. Whether you're going to offer them quizzes or little mini tests to do to test their knowledge, whether you're going to give them exercises to do, whether you're going to have them checklists that they need to go down step by step in order to accomplish whatever it is you're teaching, you have to have interaction and you have to express it in your curriculum. You could say, we're going to go over different exercises, and such as exercise number 3, here are the steps you need to take and the drills you need to do at home to get better at serving, tennis from right side to the left side, or if you're left-handed, whatever. You want to reference the interaction. You want to reference the assignments. You want to reference the handouts. It's critical, though, that you do that in the curriculum. If you look at Udemy, most of the things don't reference interaction. They may include interaction in the lessons, but they don't list it in the curriculum. You need to list it in the curriculum. It's very important and adds even more value. Last but not least, you want to kind of wrap up your course or have some later lessons in the curriculum about expansion or higher level learning on the topic. You want to at least give some stuff about going higher to a higher level of skill or higher level of knowledge than the basics of what you're talking about. You'll notice in this class alone, we have a section where I talk about, the fourth week, we cover advertising and expansion. I talk about how to expand this business, really how to take it to a higher level. All that's not necessary to build the core business, but everyone wants to know, well, how do I go even bigger? How do I really scale and go to the max potential with the business or the general concept? So you need to offer that. It's high value. It's what people want. Even though you teach a beginner course on tennis, you want to teach them some high-level techniques. Here are some expert things to know, expert tips beyond just beginner types of techniques. So always allude to higher level expanding, going beyond the basics of what you teach, because it just expands the value and the kind of the grasp or the coverage of what the knowledge is you're going to teach. They'll know that they're going to get some higher level stuff that's beyond the course scope of what the course is about. So it's always important to include a few lessons that go into higher level things and mention them in the curriculum. So those are 12 key elements that you'll always want to include and discuss and list in your curriculum. And if you do that properly, not only does it create great value for what the course is going to contain to make sure you include all those things, but as we get to next week, you start talking about marketing the course. When we can list our curriculum or outline and we can show that our course has these different elements, then it's just going to help us sell the course. When people see all these 12 things in the marketing or in the listing of what they're going to learn, most people are sold. They're like, I'm ready to buy because I'm intrigued by even a couple of these things, or I want to know 3 of these things, let alone the fact that they're going to get all 12 things in one way or another. So always make sure you include those 12 critical items. As you start to work on online courses, you're going to want to start doing this as an exercise for every course that you make. Make notes about how you're going to fulfill using all 12 of these things in your online courses, in the curriculums. And it's really going to help you maximize your sales and your marketing, as well as deliver the highest value possible for the course itself.